Hi and welcome to Candyfloss Crochet. Today I'm going to show you how to do an invisible join on your granny squares. All you will need for this tutorial is a darning needle and your yarn and some scissors. So go ahead and thread your yarn on. You will probably use for an invisible join the same colour yarn as your squares, but I'm going to use a different colour, contrasting colour, just so it's easier for you to see. So once you've threaded your darning needle, place your squares next to each other facing upwards. Then fold one on top of the other so they're front facing together. And you are going to be working and joining along the seam here. So it's very important that your squares have the same amount of stitches on them to make this work. So you must make sure your stitch count is correct, and they should be if they're doing the same pattern, and that you join them up by working across. You're going to be working across each corresponding stitch as you go along. Now, as I'm left-handed, I'm going to be starting in this corner on the left. If you're right-handed, you would generally start on the right, but it's basically the same principle. So to start off with, we're going to be working into the center of our corner, so the center stitch of our corner, and then you're going to identify the center stitch of the corner behind. Thread through, leave a reasonably long end because you're going to need that a bit later. Now we're going to be working into the back loops of all our stitches all the way along. So because they're front facing at the moment, the back loop is here on the front square, and it's on the far one here, just there on that one. Okay, so it's the back loop, but because you're working on the reverse, it looks like it's the front loop. So insert your needle into that one and into the back loop of the square at the back and pull through. My end out the way. So I'm looking for the back loop again on both squares and pull through. And the back loop on the next one, into the back loop on the back, and you're going to continue this all the way along, matching your stitches as you go. So we're on to this one now, into the back loop of the one on the back, and as you pull through, you're pulling it a little bit tighter, but don't worry about the tightness at this stage. Next stitch. So if it's easier to remember, you're doing the stitch closest to you on one side and furthest away from you on the other side. Continue this all the way along. And when you get to the halfway point, pause the video at that stage, or pause it now rather, and then work along to the halfway point, and then I'm just going to show you what we're going to do then. Okay, so you've now reached the halfway point. Holding on to your end, which is attached to your darning needle, take your tail end and just pull it tight. Just pull it through. And that will tighten those stitches up. And then continue all the way along, remembering you're picking up that back loop on both sides of your work. Continue pulling through. All the way along, and then when you get to the end, so pause the video here, work all the way along to your square, and then join me again when you get to the end of your square. Okay, so you should now be nearing your final corner, so carry on doing your last few stitches. I'm going to lose my end. All the way along, making sure you're picking up those back loops and you're working towards your corner all the way to your last stitches, picking out the ones in the corner themselves so you don't get any holes. And we're now in our last stitch in the corner. that's all your stitches done. Then taking your two ends, just pull them, pull those ends, pull that stitch nice and tight all the way along, making sure you pull your other ends as well. There you go, it's nice and tight now. And then when you fold your work out, you can hardly see where I've been. You can, if you pull it apart slightly, you can just about see the red in the work, but it gives you a nice, neat, invisible stitch. And if I'd done that in the same blue, you wouldn't see anything at all, especially at the top and the bottom. And that's all there is to it. So if I were you, I would continue to add on square after square after square, and then turn your work and then work along the edge. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you for watching.